This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Many new college graduates in the United States have trouble finding a job in the weak economy. But not graduates from the California Maritime Academy. The Academy is the only school of its kind on the West Coast. Students attend classes on the university campus in Northern California. But they also gain experience by going to sea in a floating classroom, the training ship Golden Bear. 288 cadets recently sailed on a 2-month international training cruise. The ship travels south to the Panama Canal. Along the way, it visits countries in Central America and the Caribbean. Vasile Tudoran is a mechanical engineering student at the California Maritime Academy. He spends much of his time working deep in the heart of the ship. He says he is not worried about finding a job. Robert Jackson is one of his teachers. He says the majority of the Academy's students have between 1 and 2 job offers before they complete their studies. He says most of those job offers are between $60,000 and $120,000 a year. In addition to working on ships, he says, engineering graduates from the Academy also get jobs with power companies and satellite companies. Instructor Bill Schmidt says the situation for marine transportation students is not as bright as it was before the economic downturn, but it is recovering. He says most Academy graduates are employed in the industry if they want to be. He also says the coursework is demanding because ships' officers are almost like doctors or airplane pilots. He says people working in the shipping industry have to make the right decision all the time. He says a success rate of 70% is unacceptable. The California Maritime Academy has a 94% job placement rate. Still, only about 900 students are currently studying there. Cadet Andrew DeTucci says the Academy is different from a traditional college. It is a paramilitary school, and the students must wear uniforms. Andrew DeTucci is majoring in marine transportation. He says when he was growing up, he was always told it takes a special person to want to go to sea for a living. In his words, my favorite thing about it is waking up every morning and seeing nothing but the ocean on all sides of you. I get a thrill out of that. For VOA Special English, I'm Mario Ritter.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. Have you ever heard the expression, a ball of energy? People often use the term to describe very active children. But today, we tell about an invention called the socket that is a real ball of energy. A woman who developed the socket calls it a cutting-edge portable generator in the form of a soccer ball. Julia Silverman developed the socket with Jessica Matthews as part of a group project for an engineering class at Harvard University. To better understand what a socket is, you first need to understand how it works. When you play with a ball, a lot of energy is transferred or moves to the ball. Julia Silverman says the socket captures this energy before it is lost or breaks up into the environment. Her invention attempts to capture the energy and then store it for future use. The socket collects and stores this energy with every kick, hit, or throw of the ball. Julia Silverman says users can connect small electrical devices, like a light, directly into the ball. For every 15 minutes of gameplay, the socket can provide enough electricity to power an LED lamp for up to 3 hours. The ball can store up to 24 hours worth of power. The International Energy Association reported last year that nearly 1.5 billion people do not have access to electricity. Most of them live in India, other Asian nations, and in Africa, south of the Sahara. Julia Silverman and Jessica Matthews both had experience in developing countries before they began the project. They knew that power shortages are a serious problem in many areas. Julia Silverman says there is an energy crisis in the world. She notes that 1 in every 5 people does not have any electricity. And there are health issues because those with no electricity may use devices like kerosene lamps, which can produce a lot of smoke. Ms. Silverman says the socket is one small solution to a big problem. Jessica Matthews and Julia Silverman have started a nonprofit organization called Uncharted Play. They hope their socket ball will shine more light on the problem of power shortages. It offers people a chance to put their energy into the world's most popular sport and get some energy in return. And that's the VOA Special English Technology Report. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Health Report. A new study has found that Americans are generally in good health, but some may be living with chronic disease longer and dying younger. Even without the study, some Americans seem to understand that a long life does not necessarily mean a healthy life. Christopher Murray from the University of Washington led the study. He says Americans are spending more years of their lives with long-term diseases. Researchers studied the major diseases and injuries that were at least partly to blame for Americans' health problems and early deaths over the past 20 years. They found the leading causes of chronic or long-lasting disability include depression, anxiety, and back pain. Other leading causes are diabetes and lung diseases that block airflow and make breathing difficult. The researchers identified heart attack, stroke, and cancer as the leading causes of early death. Dr. Murray says too many Americans are dying at an early age because they smoke or eat too many of the wrong foods. He says poor diet is blamed for 680,000 deaths. That is more than the 400,000 deaths a year from tobacco use. Obesity and high blood pressure are other conditions responsible for poor health. Another concern is air pollution. The National Institutes of Health says air pollution has been linked to heart and lung diseases. There was also good news from the study. It showed that Americans are generally enjoying better health longer. That is because of better methods for treating stroke and fighting some cancers. But it also found America is behind other wealthy nations in improving the health of its citizens. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Did you make a New Year's resolution? Some of you shared your goals at the VOA Learning English page on Facebook. And no surprise, many of you said at least one of your goals for 2012 is to speak English better. Daniel Kwan even went so far as to declare, "I'm definitely going to try to study English at least an hour a day." Jose Antonio Velarde says, "My first resolution is to speak English as fluently as my Spanish." And Tuti Rial says, "My New Year's resolution is to be able to speak English and Mandarin fluently and be a better person." Juwita Zulmi says she wants to improve her English and get a scholarship to study overseas. Another goal for 2012, a new boyfriend. Durley Johanna Barreto has these two resolutions: to speak English fluently and to get a job. Hsian Kim also has two goals: to lose weight and improve speaking English. And Katie Cecalina has these resolutions: don't eat meat. I'll take it easy. Then to learn Spanish or Italian and find my real love. The last ones will be the most difficult, she thinks. Rafa Mintz's main goal is finishing high school and getting into a university. Lola Wesquito Octobrata says, "I am going to get married and finish my undergraduate study with good results." And Uma Sharif is ready for the next step this year, a master's degree. Handri Permana has this resolution: be more meaningful before my time's up on earth. And Handri has this advice for others: have fun seriously in life. DNL Pajirian has fun playing the video game Defense of the Agents, or DOTA. DNL says, "My New Year's resolution is I want to spend more time on my studying than playing Dota." Refki Aditya's resolution is to not be lazy about studying anymore. And Noor Chenifa says, "I want to be the best in my national examinations, to be a braver girl, and to take a scholarship abroad." Shara Radinka offered this comment: "My resolutions are to pass vocational school, get a scholarship, and visit Singapore and Malaysia." And Sita Adyuda is thinking of Australia in 2012. "I wish I could have a career abroad in my dreamland of Oz." And let's see, as I'm an optimist, I'm going to make it real this year. Ha ha ha. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. Go to voaspecialenglish.com to read, listen, and learn English with our programs and activities. You can also find live lessons at the VOA Learning English page on Facebook.
This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. Americans gave about $290 billion to charity last year. That was $10 billion more than the amount of charitable giving in 2009. The estimates are from the Giving USA Foundation and its research partner, the Center on Philanthropy at Indiana University. Charities are nonprofit organizations that raise money to provide social services or other programs. Giving USA has been reporting on charitable donations since 1956. The group estimates that about 75 million households gave to at least one charitable organization in the United States last year. A household is one or more people living in a home. The largest share of charitable giving goes to religious groups. Giving USA says they received 35% of all donations in 2010. Some people give a percentage of their pay to religious organizations. Schools and other education-related organizations were second on the list. They received an estimated 14% of all charitable giving last year. The Federal Tax Agency, the Internal Revenue Service, recognizes donations to official charities. Those who give to charity may be able to get tax breaks and reduce the amount of taxes they owe. People who give to charity may want to know how their donations are being spent. Organizations like Charity Navigator and the American Institute of Philanthropy look at how charities spend the money they receive. Their reports and ratings offer a measure of how effectively the charities use their money. For example, donors can learn how much a group spends on services compared to how much it spends on itself in administrative costs. Charity Navigator recently asked donors and charities to answer questions about year-end giving trends this year. More than 500 donors and 100 charities completed the questionnaire. On average, these charities said they received 41% of all their donations in the last few weeks of the year. Charity Navigator also asked donors about the kinds of charities they would likely support this holiday season. Human Services rated at the top of the list. Arts, Culture, and Humanities rated at the bottom. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Read, listen, and learn with our programs and English teaching activities at voaspecialenglish.com and on the VOA Learning English page on Facebook.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Health Report in Special English. Winter and cold weather is a fact of life to many people in the northern part of the world. Freezing weather can mean frostbite and hypothermia unless a person is prepared. Here are some ways to stay warm, dry, and safe in cold weather. Frostbite is damage that happens when skin is exposed to extreme cold for too long. It mainly happens on the hands, feet, nose, and ears. People with minor cases of frostbite that affect only the skin may not suffer any permanent damage. But if deeper tissue is affected, a person is likely to feel pain every time the area gets cold. Damage to blood vessels is more dangerous. This kind of injury can lead to a gangrene infection. Sometimes the only way doctors can treat an injury like this is to remove frostbitten areas like fingers and toes. Hypothermia is a condition in which the body cannot produce as much heat as it loses. Signs of hypothermia include uncontrollable shaking, very slow breathing, and difficulty thinking clearly. If untreated, hypothermia can lead to death. To avoid cold-related injuries, here is a simple way to remember 4 basic steps to staying warm. Think of cold, C-O-L-D. The C stands for cover. Wear a hat and scarf to keep heat from escaping through the head, neck, and ears. And wear mittens, which are warmer than gloves. The O stands for overexertion. Avoid activities that will make you sweaty. Wet clothes and cold weather are a dangerous combination. L is for layers. Wearing loose, lightweight clothes, one layer on top of another, is better than wearing a single heavy layer of clothing. And D is for dry. In other words, stay as dry as possible. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.